some of the people on the new board won't know it, and it's really important that for foundation organisations like you, who are doing such terrific work, are made known to their board members while they're still fresh and young, you know. So come in the new year. Is that all right with you?
Aye.
Okay. Any questions? Tim?
Just following along from what Carolyn said, the board is going to expand into Heathcote, so we're going to be a 9-member board. So it'd be really good to arrange a visit for the board, maybe. Just
Yeah.
Sounds railway.
and on the other side of things, you mentioned $1,000. Not that I'm suggesting this at all, but our off the ground funds $250. But in between, if you kind of put in the odd application there, not that I'm suggesting you should at all, but just saying, you know.
Yeah.
Keen to hear a bit about you guys' journey with, I guess, like the bicultural journey as well, because that's something that, you know, I think you've obviously demonstrated today, but I think it's really cool, a cool kaupapa. So yeah, if you, I don't know, have a few words to say about that, about why that's important for you.
If you want to share on that, I can share. Yeah, probably in the last few years in particular, it's become more and more evident in our local hapori that we want to be a culturally safe environment for all people in our neighbourhood to come and feel at home and at peace in the marakai. And of course, you know, ensuring that we have got a foundational place to work from was essential for us. And so we're very fortunate that through our hahi, you know, we've been able to connect in with a kaumātua who has been really instrumental, particularly in our strategic planning and review of our vision and values in the past 12 months. So just very privileged, you know, to have that sort of awhi coming from people with a lot of wisdom. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you mind leaving a copy of what you said behind for us, just so that we can read it and remember what you said today and when you came in? Because I've seen you've got it printed there. If we could just bear it in mind when we read it again, because it was lovely of you to come to talk to us. It's not easy, is it? It's intimidating. Even a small committee like this can be intimidating. I just want to do especially thank you. And you didn't ask for money either. William, just out of curiosity, are you descended from any of Akaroa?
Carl.
Not.
No.
Okay. No, just out of curiosity. Yeah. Any other questions?
So Rory, could you come to, we've got 2 board meetings every month. We really need support with music. So, I'll flick you through the details.
Applications will be considered.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The stipend?
Not that it'll help your financial information.
I just wanted to say, like, I'm really probably ought to conflict myself out of funding decisions around the Addington farm, because I am still very deeply attached to the farm, and I, you know, see you guys as whānau, and I'm sort of teared up a bit when you were talking before about the journey that you've been on, and seeing as well Aliana and Atlantis, you know, how much you guys have grown up, and that you are growing people as well as produce. So kia ora. Yeah.
I think in a small place like us, where the community board is the closest council organisation connected to the community, and where we know some of the people in the back there, that I don't think he does in this situation need to back away from the table. You just need to say, I've got a relationship, because it's clear he's not going to earn millions off you. Not unless you're growing something we don't understand. Oh. Very good of you to come. We'd like to see you again. We hope we see you in the new year when the new board is elected. There'll be new faces at the table. And as Tim said, it will be bigger. And it's really important to invite them also, because this board has visited the farm.
Aye.
Yeah, so it would be really great to invite them in the summer to come around to the farm and just say hello. Yeah, and then that sets you up for the next 3 years while the board exists. Wonderful of you to come. Thank you very much for speaking in Te Reo. and introducing yourselves into our, it's excellent of you. 3 languages for you, isn't it? Is it 3 languages for you?
No.
You've got your own language
Uh,
and English
Yeah.
and Māori, a little bit of
Sometimes.
Māori.
just a bit.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Some of us might have to skedaddle for dinner, but
No,
aroha
we
mai.
expect you to do. Don't stay
Okay.
around. We expect you to go.
Ka
But
kite
thank
anō.
you.
Thank you.
Deputations by appointment. We've got none. Presentation of petitions, none. The Strengthening Communities report, which is there and attached, and is exactly what we passed a month ago, exactly what we considered 6 weeks ago. You may want to add. You happy to move? Who would like to second? Okay. Go for it. No changes. Okay, there aren't any changes, but we have had a discussion in the last few days, which may cause some rethinking in the future, but there are no changes on this occasion. And there's plenty of time for us to think about the discussion before we start talking about the DRF, etc. So that will happen,
Okay.
And we'll just take it step by step. Nothing else to add, you guys?
Nothing else to add.
No.
We're done.
Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against, abstentions, carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hate to say this, but we're in elected members information exchange. I just want to say something at my age. I watched a presentation at Tauranga, is it Tauranga, on the it was based on architectural issues, but it was about a range of issues. Every person there introduced themselves in Te Reo, old and young. Some people were more proficient than others, but in my lifetime, there's been many changes and lots of changes. But the one that took the big jump, and it took it abruptly, was Te Reo. In the last 5 years, and you could attest to the same,
Aye.
in the last 5 years, there's just been this absolute change in attitude, to the extent that the population is now saying it should be, Te Reo should be compulsory in primary school. That's huge. You've no idea what it was like in the beginning. 10 years ago, you could say, hey, Sonia, what the attitude was 20 years ago in primary schools and secondary. It's just overwhelmingly to the good. I just wanted to make that comment. I just wanted to say that society is so much the better for it. And when we see people like this talking in their 3rd language, it's almost overwhelming. Thank you. Elected members exchange. I'm going to start with Tim. Oh, and you're there. Do you two want me to start with you, or would you just be happy to take your time after Tim? Okay, Lee and Mel. Can you hear me, Mel? Okay, Tim, you start. I think I'll have you next though, just so you can have something to say. Go, Tim.
Right, just a couple of things. I got a message that the tuna, the eels, the brass eels, had been stolen from one of the reserves. They've been ground out, and
That's the one behind the shops.
yeah, there's
behind
still a
the-
few there, but there's some have gone. So it's been a long time since that's happened. That type of thing's happened. So it's just, I don't know if it's a reflection of the brass. I think, yeah. If they were copper, they would have gone long ago. Yeah. But no, but seriously, it's just, I don't know if it's just a sign of the times, or hard times or whatever. But it's really disappointing because they were so special. So I'm just going to. Yeah.
Don't you think we should say something about that in the public arena? But they were precious.
Oh, they
When
absolutely
you
were.
walked in there, we went to that reserve. When was it? 18 months ago?
Yeah.
We walked down that reserve.
And we were just there a wee while ago with the river cleanup, etc. So
It's Farnley. Isn't it?
I'll-
Is it Farnley?
I'll give the information to you.
Yeah.
So
It's
anyway,
behind
it's
the- yeah.
really disappointing.
Yeah.
So,
It's on the tip of my tongue, actually.
no, I have. No, it's just come up. So, but I wanted to go and have a look myself. So I'll do that too.
Yeah.
The other thing that there's a track just below Dyers Pass Road, which is was a walking track, biking track, and it's actually on the Adventure Park land. So it's now it's always been a mountain bike track, but I'm contacting them with regards to we need better sign, or they need to put better signage up there, whether it's been taken or whatever, to let people know that it's actually a cycling track and to beware, because it's there are more walkers now, which is great. That's a really good thing.
That's not where the woman who came and saw us two meetings ago presented about the lack of signage to direct people onto that walking track adjacent to
No,
Wilson's
that's on
Road?
the other side. That's
Right,
that's on the
okay,
other side.
okay,
No, so
yeah.
so that's and Toby boxes. So on Dyers Pass Road and other roads, we've redone the pipes, but it's kind of like an afterthought, and it won't be. There's a method to the madness. All the Toby boxes are fenced off, but there has been the information about the Toby boxes, which is taking almost longer than the pipes, hasn't really been that good. So if we could just follow up on that, just to ask staff who are involved in it, could they just please remind the contractor to drop a note to the locals affected?
Where the Toby boxes are fenced off on Dyers Pass Road
Yeah.
during the repairs.
And the final one is I got approached by the Malt House. Now, when we get a burst main or whatever, it's regarded insurance-wise as an act of God, because it just can't, and we're not responsible for it. But they have had, I think it's that, as we well know, insurance never covers everything you need. And so I'm meeting with them tomorrow just to see what the gap is, because it's not our responsibility and we don't take responsibility because we can't. But if there is a way, and what the short between what their coverage is and the damage, etc., and if there's a fund that they can apply for support from council. So I'm just meeting with them tomorrow just to go over that, because it was a good one, as we've had a few. So, but I made it clear that that's how it works. It's just an act of God. We never know what's going to happen. And as we repair more and more pipes, those ones that were missed and unknown to us through the earthquake are going to pop up. And it's just one of those things. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Mel.
Hi. Not a lot has happened. I mean, there's obviously been all that flooding and lots of potholes and things. And I know some of the flooding was quite bad in Hoonhay, but I was wondering actually if we'd be able to get some sort of information about anything staff might have learnt, you know, in the future at another time about the flooding in our area, and just if there's anything else that needs to be looked at, maybe. I don't know. But I know there were some quite distressing sort of images on Green Park Street, because it's really close to the river, and things that were on Facebook.
Just on that topic, Mel, added to that discussion would probably be the retention ponds in Curlitz Road, because there's some damage to them.
They were in the news.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe it would just, yeah, but whatever information around that would be good, I think, at the same time.
Yeah, official information.
And obviously in Tim's area too.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I just add to that briefly, just so we're on the same subject? I had a very similar inquiry regarding the flooding on the 21st of July. This was the one that we genuinely got caught out on, because we just had 40 mils, but it had a big impact. There was some damage to property, to a few owners had lost cars, that incident. The question I got asked from a resident was, because we were the EOC was in a monitoring phase there, was there a stage maybe at 11, 12 o'clock that night where we could have texted high-risk properties that were on that had signed up to some type of alert? Because there's some people that genuinely go to bed sometimes fearful in a flood event. Can they sign up? Is there a mechanism where we could look at something like that, like a sign in for a text alert? So we're not causing hysteria, but we're just addressing people with genuine concerns. So if we could ask that question of Mary Richardson, that would be great. Sorry, Mel, I'll back over to you. Sorry.
The thing about that one was that the weather forecast wasn't there. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Lee, but it was just no one's fault because the weather forecast wasn't there.
I completely
Yeah,
agree with you, but
yeah.
we did get an email to say that we were actually setting up the EOC in a monitoring phase. So was there a stage in that monitoring phase late on in that day that
Yeah.
we could have sent a text alert out as we started to see a situation changing
Yeah,
that might have given some
Yeah.
people comfort?
yeah.
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 And then other things, someone's contacted me in a frenzy about the latest cycleway that we've passed through, because they feel like cycleways are being put ahead of pedestrians. And so this actually relates to the pathway in Hoonhay Park along the macrocarpa trees. So I've put through a CSR, but they hadn't actually done that. But that's very, I know that Hoonhay Park is a park that we've looked at in the past for sort of an overhaul at some point in the future. But I guess I'm just bringing that up as in our attention, and I was explaining that those safety issues are very important to us, and we don't, you know, prioritize one mode over another or anything like that. It's just a matter of whether we know that these things are issues or not.
Are you
But
talking about the footpath crossing Mathers Park?
yeah,
what
it's
you're
the
talking
it's the footpath all the way along by the macrocarpa trees from one side from Hoonhay, from Mathers Road through to
Victor.
Victor's Road, and she said that she's partially deaf, I think it was, and so she likes to keep off the roads as much as possible, and so she goes through parks and things like that because
Yeah.
she can't hear cars coming into driveways and things. So
And what
Yeah.
worried her is the footpath not in good nick, that one. Because we visited there 5 years ago or something, you and me.
we did.
Yeah.
She sent me through photos, a couple of photos of it, and it
Mm.
does need some repairing. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. What else? Callum can talk about when we went to the Hoonhay Community Association meeting. And I saw on Facebook that the Hoonhay Food Bank is now a registered charity, because we had that discussion, so that's exciting. And the other thing I saw on Facebook, which is where I get all my news from, is that Gainsborough Street Reserve is having a planting for the fruit trees on the 14th of August in a couple of weeks on that Sunday. And I
that's
didn't know
cool.
about that. I saw it on Facebook. So that's a good thing that's come out of our board and people coming to speak to us, which is a fantastic thing. And there's signs up in the park, apparently, Mike was telling me as well about it.
Is Heidi involved with them, or who's the
I don't know. Yeah.
Holly? Oh, Heidi and Holly. That's great. Right. Apparently Heidi and Holly, or Holly's the one that's involved with them. The park, it's a new park ranger.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's good, isn't it?
Well, that's very fast turnaround, in my opinion. So that's great.
It is. I'll ask for Holly's name to be in our minutes of the meeting, so that there's some attention paid to the fact that we've got another park ranger. Is that right? Okay. Okay. And nothing else, Mel? Oh, you look so well.
Callum.
Maybe your name is
Yeah.
Callum.
I think it's Callum. So yeah, that's reminding me, Mel. We went to the Hoonhay Community Association, had a transport, traffic management plan specialist come in from the council to talk to them about traffic management, which was a great meeting. He was what most people would expect to be quite a boring topic. He made it quite interesting. He was a great presenter.
Which one was his name?
I can't remember his name now. Do you remember his name, Mel? Yeah. I was just
I'd never seen him before either.
Yeah. I was too dazzled by his presentation about traffic cones, and but so the conversation ended up at the end of it, lots of concerns were raised around traffic safety by the residents, and we told them on the day to come to the board to talk about that, and they're going, well, I think we will see them soon. But one of them was the parking outside next to Hoonhay Park during like Saturday morning sport. is apparently really dangerous. So we made the recommendation to just talk to staff in the first instance.
Was
and
it the
then
diagonal parking?
it's the diagonal parking. Yeah.
Were they
So,
back into kids?
yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the one. So that was the first thing. And I'm sure they'll also talk to us about it when they come.
Problem is you lose parking when you make it parallel.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's just the.
Yeah.
It's inevitable,
it is
but
what it is.
people hate that too.
Yeah. I think there was a general consensus in the group as well that the Mathers Road, Hoonhay Road intersection has become quite dangerous in the last several years, since obviously traffic's been picking up and up. So that'll be something that they'll bring to us as well, I expect. But in the meantime, they'll be talking to our traffic engineers too.
I think that's our number one in the ward. I honestly believe that. I think
Yeah.
it's number one in the 2 wards. I think it's terrible intersection that. And it's got 3 schools pouring around it.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
And there's also a lack of safe crossings to the right of that intersection heading up from Mathers Road. There's just nothing for
Oh.
kilometres. So that kind of leads me on to the second thing, which is that the government's announced a $350 million transport choices package, which is something that is funding that's been made available for improving safety around urban cycleways, walkable neighbourhoods, safer travel to schools, bus priority. So I'm sure that staff are already aware of that. But
Can you say it again?
the transport choices package,
How much millions?
350 across the
Okay. Miltu.
across the country. Yeah, and that's part of the climate emergency response fund. But I just would like to think that we've got people looking into that from within our for projects in our board area. Not that I can see, no. Well, there will be, but I don't have the information.
The important thing about this is that we should get that man in for the new board very soon, eh? That traffic engineer.
Yeah.
Because that just sounds important. Yeah. But for him to tell us about Hoonhay Road, it's
Yeah.
would be great as well.
I think it'd be good when Hoonhay Community Association comes to the board to have that person they've been talking to
What a good idea of theirs.
yeah.
To invite him to come and talk about something important for their area.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And then finally, just wanted to check, I think we're due in middle of August an update on the vape shop information stuff.
Yes, on the 29th of August, we've got somebody coming to talk to you about the vaping shops. However, I've just sent you an email not long ago because Christina Lewis, who is coming, she has advised us that there is currently a petition that is open for signatures, which closes on the 12th of August, about the density, for restrictions on the density of vaping shops. So I've sent that to you all so that you can then pass that on to those concerned residents that you had if they wish to.
Yeah, I've seen actually that floating around, and those residents are very across it. Yeah. Yes, but
Don't sign it yourself until after we've spoken or voted. at
yes,
this board.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to see them.
It closes on the 12th of August, and you've got the briefing on the 29th of August. So the time frame is actually, it closes before your briefing. So that's why she sent it through to you, because she knew you were interested in
I see.
the density. So and it's a petition. It's not for submissions. It's just a petition.
So it's coming through to us.
No,
No,
it'll be
I've
for
just sent you
central
the link
government.
to it. Set. No, it's a I think it's a petition that's been started up by a group. I think it's called hashtag something, and they've started this petition. So Christina Lewis has wanted to advise the board of the existence of this petition. It closes on the 12th of August, which is next week. And otherwise, if it had been still operate or still open when she did the briefing to us, she would have let it, briefing to you, she would have let you know then. So that's why she wanted to let you know about it so that you can pass that on, because it'll be out, it will be closed by the time you have the briefing.
But that's kind of irrelevant in the sense that because I'll be sending it to the local MP or whoever it is, but for us, for our information, they could send us a copy of the completed petition.
Yeah.
It'd be good to see the numbers.
It
on
would. And I'd
Yeah.
also like to know, Addington is 0.9 of a K long. I'd like to know how many alcohol licensees there are in that 0.9 of a K and how many vaping shops. I'd like to know in writing,
Well,
please. And acknowledging that Callum's been the one that's raised this as an issue, but I'd like for the board to know before she comes on the 29th, how many alcohol licenses are in Addington and how many vaping?
So are you talking about all licenses or just off licenses?
All alcohol licenses.
All alcohol
Let's
licenses.
get the beggars. Let's see how many there are. And they all belong to that AAA, alcohol. Yeah, Alcohol Action Addington or something. They're a group of licensee holders, which the council staff support. We'll get together and then put through an idea like they did 18 months ago that nobody would be allowed to have a beer at lunchtime in a park because there was so many bad behaviours going on in Addington, which all turned out to be based on the licensed premises.
That's all from me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to get that information, won't it?
Yeah.
Keir. Lee, do you want your turn? That's good. Idea.
Okay. Hopefully not stealing too much of your thunder, Caroline. I'll just briefly mention the stakeholder meeting for the Self Library reinstatement on the 25th of July. So we sat in a session with stakeholders, Caroline and I. It is still in an early phase. So at the moment, they're establishing the brief for the reinstatement. They're looking at the initial areas. They're also looking at adjacencies, how certain areas might work. There was a suggestion that the meeting spaces might open up onto the main library space, just so they could be more flexible in the future. So I just wanted to sound that really, but it's really an early phase of looking at the spatial areas and seeing how they might, how the adjacencies might work. But I did get a good bit of confidence from the team. I thought the project manager, Lynn, seemed to get a clear message across to us. So yeah, it just feels like the right things are happening at the moment. It did feel like there was a lack of resident participation. I know that's partly our job, but I think moving forward, we might need to see how that feeds a bit. I know there's also the opportunity to have your say, but it'd also be good to have, a resident or two in there as well, I think, just to keep us honest and just to make sure we've got that flavour coming through, because it is such an important facility. So, so that's Self Library, unless there's any questions on that. Just briefly going to talk about flooding again. Had another contact a week and a half ago from a chap on River Law. He lives in the low 200s. He was just asking for an update on the low-level stock banks. I know there's conjecture around if they're a good idea or not, but he's just asked if we do know what's happening. So he lives, the low 200s on River Law and looking towards what would be Enses Road, St Martin's, where you've got the River Law Esplanade. He was just querying whether there is any capital works plan there in terms of a low-level stock bank. So north of 200 River Law Terrace, heading towards that bridge there. So if we could check that out, that would be very much appreciated.
No, the staff have voted to get, after I think a 5-year investigation of the issue, the staff have gone against it. They're not going to recommend a stop banks there.
Yeah. Okay. So that is the latest and greatest, and is that out there in the public domain? I just need to. Well, it is now, but
didn't we had a Zoom
meeting with Christian,
which was public,
with Peter Christensen and co.
which was open to the public.
Yeah.
And
okay. So that should be.
There was also, after that briefing, there was also a webinar that all residents living along the river corridor were invited to attend, and I believe
Yes.
that there could be a recording of that webinar available. So
If it's possible to get a copy of that, I can follow up on that. But I'll touch base on you offline with that, Marie, and just and close that out and just go full circle with that. So thank you. That's me essentially.
The library meeting was, I thought, really, the staff acted in a very modest manner. There was no sense of overbearing or anything but respect for residents' opinions and so on. I agree with Lee. I think that there should be some representation from residents who have got an interest in it, but there was no sense of anybody trying to dominate proceedings. The only other thing I'd mention is that this was about spatial and spaces, you know, it was about connections too. And you'll notice that, for instance, the education rooms right down the back, they were talking about associating them with these boardrooms here, which sounds like a good idea. But someone that today had a go at me saying the noise coming from, for instance, the sport, what's it called, EDS sports? The people who play sports? Esports. The noise coming from esports can intrude on one of the quiet, studious meeting in the next door room, no matter what kind of protection you put in. So it may not be that all the meeting rooms should be clustered together. It just may not be, you know. There's more to it than we can take into account. But the meeting was incredibly respectful. The one thing I had to go at, as you can imagine, was disability access, because the council's history on disability and accessible buildings is zilch. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's a building that they haven't made appalling mistakes in, and not even complied with the building code in. And so I had to go about that. And the librarians, and Carolyn, I forgot to say, Carolyn was there, the chief librarian. Is that her title? She's such a good woman. And she was there, and very conscious of the fact that the libraries have made a lot of mistakes about disability access, including this one. And so it was really, their attitude was really good. I'd like to be able to stay with my finger on this, in this pie, because I just love it so much, and I've been around the library so much, but that's for the gods to decide. The flooding, I can't even imagine what the flooding would have been like without those floodplains. But the one that I found most interesting was I went up Worsleys Road and I walked my dog into the river, middle of the lakes, because the walkway had managed to stay gravelly dry. In other words, not covered in mud, not slippy slidey, but the gravel's still extant. In the walkways. 3 days ago, I went in there, and so you're walking on the walkway in the middle of a floodplain. It's so sort of spacey in a way, but cheapest the people there are going to love living there. It's going to be a great environment. And there wasn't, because I went up there to walk on in the Esplanade. Hopeless. There hasn't been a place where you could walk easily in the last fortnight. The weather this winter must be the worst I've come across since 2012, perhaps. Was it? Oh, that was the March, April, May one, where we had 3 huge floods. That was terrible. Yeah. Yeah, the wettest on record, just exceptional. And so what it would have been without the floodplains, is the retention ponds, is just very hard to understand. And thank goodness the council got onto it. They've done a wonderful job in that area. Yeah.
Just a couple of things to fight with Curlitz Road. It's 7% of the total network when it's working properly, but there's leaking around the actual floodgate. So they're taking it easy there, because they said if it totally goes, and they don't know if then there's no retention. So it was running at 40%. So, but that will be up and running and fixed by the next winter. So that's and with the main Cashmere one, which is they're working on now, which will have the dam, etc., that's scheduled to be finished next year. So that's all up, and so that will again relieve more around the rivers.
We do need the Curlitz Road one.
Oh, absolutely, there's no question. And its major effect even though it's 7% across the board, is the Hoonhay part of the Heathcote River, and that also goes round between the houses and Cashmere, you know, like Palm Drive and all that kind of thing. So that's what relieves those houses from the back. So that is quite important for those community. So that's underway anyway. And just comment with regards to the South Library. What has been the really good thing is when it started, there's a whole lot of stuff, you know, warriors on Facebook. And when you go to the public meetings, we went to the one Kiwi that was here, and it was concerned people, and and their staff have been absolutely outstanding. And so what I'm seeing now is there's huge knowledge in the community about it. It's been really well documented. There've been a lot of questions. Those keyboard warriors that were stirring stuff up are now nowhere to be seen because the public are actually coming and seeing. So I think that's what we're getting now. We're getting people, the Beckenham and Neighbours Association and other groups are being talked to by staff, so that it's all really up in everyone's face. Everyone knows. And as you said, Lee, you know, our staff are trying to do the best they can. You know, they are doing a really good job with it. So I think that angst has now gone because everyone knows everybody is on the same page. And that's a really good thing.
It is. It's exceptional. It really is
So
exceptional.
it's been really well handled, I think.
And I've got two beefs. Coronation Hall, which was damaged in 2010, and then a motorbike ran into it at, I don't know when, 2012, something like that. And it's a disgrace that it isn't repaired, and it's a disgrace the lack of reporting to this board. And I've asked, because I'm putting off a lot of things for the new board because I don't think it's appropriate for us to be seeing them. But I asked Marie to tell them I want a Coronation Hall here to tell us what was going on. I am so sick of them not reporting to us appropriately. I could even name them. I'm so mad about it, the people responsible, because I know who they are, and it's disgraceful. It's 12 years and it's just rotted, and it's their fault, and something should have been done about that beforehand. It's just disgraceful. What was the other thing I told you? You should have remembered. Never mind. I'll throw another book soon about it. The tree policy is upsetting. There is the briefing coming up. Yeah, it's briefing's coming up now. Because we asked, we said it has to happen before the meeting. Yeah. It's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And the people there, the suburbs were granted that lease. How long ago do you think that was? 5, 4? How long? 2019, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Yeah. Well, they must be waiting, and I mean, they've been very patient about it. I think it was as well. I don't think you've had much to do with it, have you? No. And we had a tour of that building, and the suburbs, I reckon suburbs, without speaking in a discriminatory way, suburbs may well be one of the poorer sporting clubs, wouldn't it be? Now, I think it probably is close to. And here they are trying to survive without the building that they were leasing, told that they were leasing 3 years ago. I have no idea. Anyway, that's it, everybody. I don't think I should, my last word should be that. I think my last word should be about the eternal optimism of people in our area, especially when surrounded with floodwater. Yeah, and the fact that we're doing better than we've ever done before in terms of flooding. Really bad flood, and we're still surviving. And it's the usual suspects, which is the one where the car got away was Eastern Terrace. So it's never not going to be flooded, Eastern Terrace. Yeah. Okay. Oh God, I forgot about you, Kia. That's terrible. I'm staring at you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Kia.
Pardon me. Sorry, when Tim and I were at the B&A meeting that night, it was absolutely bucketing down. Someone mentioned the True Right Heathcote Drainage Riverbank Reserve, or whatever we're now calling it. And just that the B&A would like to have a bit of a conversation about if it, what does happen with it. And I think we've asked for a briefing on that, but I think it'd be, because if that does if it's no longer used for traffic, then it becomes a bit of a community space during the week.
Yeah,
and I think
that's right.
They talked about potentially a council staff member who does sort of urban play stuff or something, whether there's stuff for kids, whether it could be a space that maybe has some play elements in it for kids and stuff like that. So which would be cool if we could, it may not be practical, of course, but it would be cool if we could just have that conversation, I guess.
I think the problem is that the status is not going to be formal for a while. And Angus is pushing the boundary a bit.
I think it would be quite, I think this is a long, but I think it would be good if we
Yeah.
could just keep them in the loop. So
It's not something we would like a furore about right now.
no, but I think it'd be good to keep them in the conversation.
And
So
I'm conscious I'm saying this out loud, but that's all
Yeah,
right.
I think it'd be good to keep them in the conversation so they know,
Yeah.
in case they start thinking, what can we push for? Because
Yeah.
that may not be the right stage. Can we also, can we find a better name? Perhaps.
So True Right. A True Right is when, I think it's in river landscaping, when you're looking downstream, True Right is the right,
Yeah,
when you're looking downstream.
I mean,
But it does sound like
Could turn
a,
around and call it true left.
it sounds like a church denomination.
What do you mean? Is it, what's it called?
it's the True Right, like it's the True Right Bank Reserve or something. Because when you're looking downstream, it's on the right bank.
That's what they're calling it at the moment. But
Yeah.
It's just landscaping.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of the other thing. We asked for decision on Maori names and the council's attitude and actions on this ages ago, and we still haven't had that back either. So can we ask about that? We asked for them to come and talk to us. Because, for instance, we wanted, that
King George.
staff are calling things names in the absence of us calling them something or it being allocated to name. So the Wigram Basin, Curlett's Basin, we wanted to name that something which reflected the wetland that it is. Yes, absolutely. But we haven't had any, the staff have still not yet come back to us on that issue of naming names. Because you're dead
That's what I was
right. A True Right is even worse than South Christchurch Library.
Call me
It's the New Zealand style, South Island, North Island. Well, that's
That is so interesting. Can we add that to the naming issue? True Right. Oh,
Call us a pack of lefties, though. I mean, the other one,
yeah.
the other one was, and I just circulated it around the board, but just to sort of raise it publicly, a resident contacted me about Carey Street, the property there, and I'm sure that stuff will, I'm sure appropriate comms will go out over time, but just that was
But tell me.
Carey Street. There's OCHT property there that's, from what staff have come back, there's a pathway for renewal, which is really exciting.
Where is Carey Street?
Carey Street, it's between Barita and Dunn Street. It's a lane. Anyway, there's a.
It's a lane.
Yes,
Oh,
there's
right.
there's
Gotcha.
OCHT
Yeah.
properties there,
Yeah.
which I think it would be lovely to see restored. And I think there is a plan there, but that's just
Yeah.
good to see that that's
Okay.
hopefully
So
progressing.
that's CREY or
CAREY. I can.
CREY. Yep.
And the final thing is a gent.
CAREY. Yep, yep.
And the final thing is a gentleman said to me about a fortnight ago, someone needs to clear out the gutters on Tennyson Street. Otherwise, next time it rains, it will there'll be lots of flood, like lots of surface water. And a week later, I don't tell the gentleman this. I didn't fire it through as a CSR. As soon as I heard him say this, I left it a bit. But more for me, because a week later I was biking through quite a lot of surface water. So just goes to show
Well,
what happens when you don't.
Well, the council put out a note saying if people could look at the gutters, and I scraped mine out from underneath the, my driveway, because they couldn't get the trucks around with the lack of notice.
There was a
Yeah.
guy that I watched when I was stuck in traffic, just walking along Centaurus Road with his shovel and his high vis is pissing down.
Oh,
And he was just doing, as he's going
I
along.
saw someone doing it. I thought,
Oh,
what a
the
short
poor
straw. you
bloke.
No,
know,
no,
the
he
depot.
was doing something, wasn't that fantastic?
Yeah, no, but I
He had his
I thought
shorts on and his gum boots and off he went and he was just wandering along doing all the
Good on
grades.
him.
I was thinking, yeah. As I
Nothing
said in my
else?
nice dry car.
Nothing else, everybody? It's good to see you all. Thank you very much for coming, and it was good to see you. And thank you, Matt, again. And thank you, Marie, again. I know tonight's been awful because apparently the internet went down, crashed. So it wasn't Marie's fault. So thank you both very much for keeping us afloat.
Thanks
And-
for making it easy for us. It's been good.
And good to see you guys here today, and good to see the back row. Thank you all.
However, you know, like we get good staff and then they vanish. Is it something to do with us?
Oh,
'Cause, you know-
maybe. But look, Grace is bouncing back. She starts next week. So Grace is bouncing back, and Amy turns up when? Next week, night? Yeah.
What
There we go.
baptism of
Just remember Judy Freely.
Yes, Lee.
Is there an ending karakia to officially close? the
Coming,
meeting?
coming. Thank you, Mel. I should have remembered. You can in a minute, but let him do his karakia and we'll let you speak. Is that all right? Thanks, Sonia.
Tukuna te wairua kia rere ki te taumata, ko te matatika te mata pono, hei arahi i ngā mahi, ka arotahi te tira kia eke panuku, kia eke tangaroa, homi e, hui e, tai ki e.
Thank you very much. Tell us. Gosh, I should, Sonia, we've had, I think this is the fourth iteration of the sound system since I've been on the board, the fourth, and it actually works. It's amazing. And Sonia, thank you so much for saying it. I think the council will be inordinately pleased for us to pass that on. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you team. See you next week.
See ya.
Take care.
Don't talk to us, Lee. Not interested. I hope you get sunburned.